What is reality? If I were to stop a random person on the street to ask them that question, they'd probably think of me as somewhat insane, but really stop for a second and think about it. How do you define, in a single sentence, reality? It's surprisingly difficult to do, isn't it?
That's because reality is perception. What's real to you isn't even a passing thought to somebody who's working on their next big album or trying to secure a lucrative business deal, and vice versa.
So how would you take that concept, reality is perception, and use it to create a piece of highly influential artwork? Well, if you were Japanese master animator Satoshi Kon, you'd probably start by brushing up on your social studies. Satoshi Kon was born in Sapporo, Hokkaido, on October 12, 1963. He started working in the manga industry at the age of 23, while still studying at Musashino Art University near Tokyo. He was given a chance to direct his first original animated film while working at Studio Madhouse, and that film's critical success allowed Kon to continue to create original and creative works up until his death in 2010.
Even early on in his career, it was clear that Kon wanted to create the kind of works that used the medium of animation to their advantage, and that only really could exist in the world of animation.
Satoshi Kon was always very interested in the concept of reality. Specifically, Kon loved to blur the line between what was real and what wasn't. When Kon was initially approached about directing his first theatrical film, Perfect Blue, he initially had reservations about creating a work that was based on a novel. In an interview with Midnight Eye in February of 2002, Kon spoke in great detail about how Perfect Blue became a completely original film compared to the novel of the same name. Quote, "The screenplay they had was written by the author of the novel. I never read the novel, but I didn't find his script very interesting at all. So I said, if you want to stick with this screenplay, I don't want to direct this film, but if you accept that I make changes to it, I'll do it." They were okay with that, so I accepted.
In the end, Perfect Blue is a completely original work, and it's the kind of film that only a person like Satoshi Kon could make.
It's at this point that I realize I've yet to actually introduce our subject matter yet. While I could cover any one of Satoshi Kon's works today, as they're all equally important and influential, I chose to present to you all my personal favorite of his projects. His first.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you
Perfect Blue. Japan is famous for many things, but among its most popular is its pop music, much of which comes from what's known in Japan as idol groups. On the surface, these groups are the personification of innocence. Fun-loving, bubbly girls who haven't a care in the world and love nothing more than providing their listeners with happy thoughts and peppy music. But there's unfortunately a much darker side to idol culture in Japan. Without going into unnecessary detail, the majority of idol groups exist as objectified individuals, whose only real job is to become the fantasy material for their male fans. To that end, idols aren't allowed to have romantic relationships with men, with the penalties for doing so being incredibly severe and often career-ending. At the same time, they're often required to perform in uncomfortably revealing outfits, and have numerous underwear or bikini-clad photo shoots, and again, the penalties for not doing so can be incredibly harsh.
On the surface, this is the kind of two-faced culture that Satoshi Kon wanted to explore with Perfect Blue.
In many ways, you could consider the film a deconstruction of how this lifestyle can negatively affect the girls who have taken on the mantle of idol in Japan, and how that innocent desire to become a famous singer gets tainted by the harsh reality of the idol scene. At the start of the film, we're treated to a performance by an idol group, and we see how the upbeat, happy performances of the girls are contrasted with the harsh reality of the crowd. Carefully perfected makeup-clad faces sing of joy and innocence, all the while the audience is full of ugly, disorganized faces, drug abuse, alcohol, and violence. Our main character, Mima, gives up her position in the idol group Cham to pursue further fame through acting, but because of her image as an innocent girl from an idol group, one of her agents thinks it would be best to involve Mima in a heavily adult-oriented film to alter her public image from that of a childish pop star to that of an actress who can be taken seriously. Pretty early on in the movie's production, Mima has to participate in a scene wherein she gets violated. Of course, she doesn't actually get sexually assaulted, that's against the law, but this moment is still difficult and traumatic to her.
In a very real sense, Mima's innocence is being taken away from her, much in the same way that an idol in Japan's innocence is taken by the fan base, or photo shoots, or strict anti-dating policies.
But then Satoshi Kon takes it a step further by introducing the internet to the mix. Many of Mima's fans take her role in the film as a betrayal to the kind of innocent person an idol should be, and use Mima's internet blog as a way to steal away her identity. On this blog, someone has been pretending to be Mima, writing page after page about her daily activities, some of which are accurate and some of which are completely different. And Mima begins to realize that her so-called fans are starting to become more like obsessive stalkers. At the same time, the film Mima is participating in becomes the victim of several terrorist attacks, with multiple staff members being murdered.
What's interesting is that in each of these murders, there's references to Mima's idol career.
The band's final single being played in the elevator, the image of one of Mima's past performances casting itself over the image of the killer, and even one instance of the killer dressing as Mima in a state of delusion. At least, that's Mima's perception of these events. And remember, in Perfect Blue, reality is perception. Nothing more, nothing less. I think the point of this film is to show the decay in a person's mental state that can result from suffering first-hand experience to the darker sides of idol culture. It's a film that appears to say, once you've put yourself out there, your identity belongs to whoever claims to have it. By being famous, you have forfeit your right to a personal life. Perhaps that is why Mima is so consistently haunted by the ghost of her former self. It's a reminder that the reality of everyone else is that the idol Mima is the real one, and the one who she is now must surely be fake. But in Mima's reality, the idol her and the actress her are one and the same. The clash between those who still only see her as an idol and her own perception of herself. This is what causes Mima's reality to become warped. All that information about warped reality and the dark side of idol culture is all well and good, but what does that have to do with you? If reality is perception, like we've been discussing for the past few minutes, then why should you have to care about Perfect Blue at all?
Well, for starters, if you care about movies that come out of Hollywood, you should probably also care about Perfect Blue.
In fact, the movie Requiem for a Dream lifts directly from Perfect Blue. Many people have also found that the modern fame-seeking society that we live in today is often accurately reflected through Perfect Blue, sometimes to a terrifying degree. In the end, though, the largest influence this film can have is with its own audience, through the questions it poses to its viewers. Are you the same person online as you are in front of your family? Do you know who's been following your every social media move? And most importantly, what is your reality?